Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity and Fabulous Friday. It's the weekend. Now on Wednesday, I've got to get my dates right, I showed you a personal haul and I didn't show you how it's stamped or anything like that, and amongst that haul was a die. So I'm here to talk about that die. I'm going to show you a couple of projects, and at the end of it I'm going to show you how to use walnut ink. Right, not the actual ink, the crystals. So first of all, let me share these with you. I showed you that one and I showed you that one. You can see that's red now because I've stamped it. And I showed that one, which I've used in a project, and I've used one of the elements from here to show you that these work. Now these I'm going to take away because we're going to stamp with those in a minute because I haven't tested them yet. And this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this die. Right, this is the jar little sort of like mini book page die, and it comes with all of the elements in it. Now here is what I discovered. The jar lid does not fit. It does not fit the die, even though I found a fixed way around it. This does not fit, and the penguins do not layer up correctly. So I'm just going to sort of like share that with you by putting those two in my hand, and then you get the silhouettes. So if I can grab the silhouettes here just to show you. I mean, I did put one on my card, and on the smaller one it's not too bad, and people could say you're being a bit picky, but I can see a little shadow around there, so to me that is not a true match. And then if I pick this one up, it becomes, whoops, if I pick that one up, sorry, move that one, it becomes even more obvious. As I put the black shadow layer on top of that one, you can see just how much it's out. You've got your shadow layer feet up there. Now, of course, you could trim it if you wanted to, but I just wanted to point that out to you. I'm always honest here, and I wouldn't like, you know, for anybody to buy anything and for it not to meet their expectations. But as I said, that doesn't bother me because I can find a fix around, but not everybody wants to do that. So here's what I created, and I've used the smaller penguin, which you can see has that little bit of shadow sticking out there, and that doesn't bother me. I can actually live with that. The rest of it works absolutely fine. The little jar is absolutely fine, and the lid fits, and I've got binder clips in there. I've used a couple of layers, and I've used Distress Oxide in Stormy Sky, and then I've used Forest Moss and Bundled Sage, and I've used something else and I can't remember. It's a darker green. Oh, Rustic Wilderness, that's it, that's what I used. And my twine is from Dollar Tree, and I threaded it through the bar section. Now, how did I get my lid to fit? What I did was I cut the whole jar in white, and then using the base die again, I just used a piece of cardstock in the top area, cut it in the colour that I wanted to, and I had a jar lid. So that was my workaround for that. And, you know, for $3, I'm absolutely okay with that. I'll carry on using it, and I'm fine. But as for the larger penguin, I could use the silhouette, but there's no way I can use the base piece. It just does not match at all. You can cut that one and paper piece it back in and put it flat down, but because I wanted something that was, you know, an element up above, I didn't really want to bother to paper piece that. So that's me letting you know about that. So that's my first project. Get that in camera, got it a bit low. My second one is using one of the stamps from this set, which is the Shipment Collect, and I use this lovely ledger stamp, which this is absolutely gorgeous, it really is. and that's what I did. I got my walnut ink out. This is just regular white cardstock. You can see there where I didn't do that side. You're supposed to do both sides if you're going to see it. There is the shipment collect stamp, which is absolutely perfect. I stamped that in red stays on in, let's have a look, St. Valentine. So that's the St. Valentine stays on that I used here. Now this little square section here, this is operator error. I didn't ink that section of the stamp up enough because I was using my mini archival stamp, which isn't the best thing, and I have ordered myself the big pads now, so I'll be able to, you know, cover the whole stamp as I'm stamping rather than using something tiny, because I love this ink. It's a real dark true black, and it's the Tim Holtz archival in black soot. So when I'd inked that up again and put it down again, I'd actually shifted my cardstock, so it double stamped it. But that doesn't bother me because I think it kind of, it adds to its dinginess. So that's what I did, and I used a corner rounder, which is one of these little punch that I've had for years, and I just made myself a great piece of ephemera. And if we get close there, you can see, I hope we can get close. You can see all of the numerals down there, everything stamping absolutely clearly and beautifully, and it made a great size piece. So if I get my ruler out, I'm going to say 5 3/4 by 3 inches. So, you know, just using that stamp on that dimension alone, you can go down there with book rings and make yourself a great little notebook. So that is that. Right, I'm going to pause very quickly and get my stuff to do some walnut inking. Right, so I've got my little dish of water. I've got my walnut ink crystals. Now, take a good look at the label here, because this is really, really important. I see the most beautiful, beautiful junk journals being made, and they are staining everything in coffee and tea. That's not something I personally would recommend when you're making something as beautiful as that. I mean, if you're creating to pass down through the family or friends or something, you really do need to stop using coffee and tea because it's highly acidic. Now, you may be using beautiful paper and thinking it's archival and safe, but as soon as you pour coffee and tea over it, the acidity is going to make your paper brittle, it's going to make it fade over time, and your paper's going to fall apart. So, you know, it may take a couple of years to fall apart, but, you know, all your beautiful work for nothing. So I recommend walnut ink crystals, and if you look on there, you can see they are archival and they are acid free. These are Sukineko, which is a Japanese company, and these are absolutely gorgeous. They will last you for life, quite literally. And that's what I recommend for all you junk journalers out there. I see some absolutely gorgeous stuff being made, and when I see the tea and coffee come out, I just throw my hands up in horror. I mean, if it's something temporary you're making for a couple of years, then, you know, that's okay. But if you want something to last, then, you know, switch to walnut ink. Right, substrates. I have got a piece here of Sizzix Mat Board. Best time to get this is on sale. This is great with your steel rule dies, and I think I paid $1 for a pack of 6 pieces. So look out for the Sizzix sale. I've got a heavyweight piece of white cardstock here, just regular, normal, cheap stuff, and you can see the thickness there compared to the mat board. Quite a difference, and the cardstock is white, that's cream. And then I've got a piece of Dollar Tree file folder, which are their Manila file folders, and I think they're now in a pack of 8 for $1, and I just cut those up to make my tags because, as you know, you can buy manila tags and things like that, and they're not the cheapest thing, but out of a pack of file folders you can probably make 60 or 70 tags, so that's what I use. So we're going to do the walnut ink across the 3 substrates so that you can have a good look and see what's what. So file folder, mat board and regular white cardstock, and I hope you can see that there. Right, first thing you want to do when you're using walnut crystals, and this is a Dollar Tree paintbrush. I highly recommend these, they're gorgeous. Right, we're going to put paper down, because when you add water to any cardstock, what you're doing is you're absorbing into the fibres. Now, this cheap piece of white cardstock, I want you to have a look at that. You can see the pulp starting to bubble. Now, obviously, for watercolour, you would be horrified. But if you're doing something vintage, that's exactly what you want. It's sort of like deteriorating the surface already. Now, on mat board, not so much. It's a much smoother surface. It's thicker and it's way more absorbent. So you can see that there. It hasn't made any difference at all. I think the camera is actually picking up the shadow of how that's sort of like deteriorating the top of that paper. And then when we go into our Manila folder, not much difference apart from the fact that getting it wet will make it curl, and you can see that now it's starting to bow up towards me. I have got a piece of kitchen roll here so I can go around with my messes. Right, so what do we do? Well, first of all, we take the lid off the crystals, and I'm going to show you inside. If you've ever used Bista, they have a walnut crystal base, and most walnut crystals are made in Germany. Yeah, I know. Odd thing, but there you go. So we've got this. This is already damp. And I'm just going to take a couple of crystals here so that I can colour. You can see how much I've put down. Not much at all. I mean, as I say, a pot of walnut ink crystals will last you for life. And now I've soaked my brush again, and I'm just going to gently move that around. Now, dependent on how much crystal you put down is how dark it's going to be. Now, it does always dry lighter than it shows. A little bit more water there. So take that into account when you're doing something. And I think I have got my dryer plugged in somewhere. So you can see that's given a really rich streaky colour. But as it starts to dry, you will see that the colour will start to fade. And now I'm going to puddle some water on top of there, because on really old paper you see those like dark flecks of staining that have bled into it, and that's what that is going to be doing right there. So I'm just going to leave that like that for a little while, and as you see that pattern actually moving around in the water, it looks like burr walnut. Now a little bit of ink has already splashed on here, so I'm just going to go in with my dirty brush, because I just want you to see the differences on the different substrates. Hopefully that's staying in camera. Now we've got some pale streaking there, but I've got a good puddle of water to work with, and a pinch of crystals again, and all over the surface. Quite a few there because it's a larger piece of paper. Now you've got all that streaking and swirling, which is fantastic. I mean, if you're somebody who's a really great artist, you know, you're going to be able to create ocean waves and clouds and all sorts of stuff out of that. And just by itself, it looks really, really beautiful. You can work trees and all sorts through there. But I'm going to destroy that design now and go in with a wet brush, and I'm just going to move it gently. Now this will hold the crystals a lot better, if you see there, and you will get in general a much richer colour on mat board. Well, that's what I've always found, and I'm just pushing that around. So as you can see, we're a lot sort of like golden amber brown with this one, where this one's looking a lot more sort of like dirty vintage dingy, like it's been in a factory office drawer for a few years. So you're getting a totally different colour, and it's not just because it's cream, it works this way on the white mat board too, but I've used all my white mat board and I haven't got any at the moment. So I'm just going to leave that there. We are going to tamp this down in a minute with some kitchen paper, but you can see the colour difference there. Right, move that over. I think I've got a little bit of space in the camera. And we're going onto the Dollar Tree Manila folder. So dirty brush again, because I'm going to be using walnut crystal, so it doesn't matter. And we've already primed it with water, so the majority of what you put down now is going to stay on top. And as I said, this does bow, so that's going to create runs and drips. Right, so a little pinch more of crystal, and you'll start to see that running off everywhere. And what I usually find actually with the Manila folder is that you get a paler colour overall. Even though it's a similar shade to this, it will be paler, and it should come up paler than this one. So you can create sort of like different effects dependent on your substrate and your pages. I did put quite a lot of crystal down on this one, just to show that you don't really need that much. If you don't want to see those little crystal dots, just, you know, sort of work them in with your brush. But sometimes it's nice to see them, because they can spider out and just look really nice. Right. So we've got a nice rich colour here. And I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. I'm just going to rinse out my brush. Although why, I don't know, because it's going to go straight back into walnut ink. But as you can see, just from rinsing the brush, if you've got a few crystals in a bowl, that's the colour of tea, really. You can soak your doilies and stuff in a bowl of water where you've just dropped just a few crystals, just to make them a little bit dingy. Right, the first one that I did, I'm going to go over to it. I'm going to move that one slightly, and I'm just going to dab it off with the kitchen paper. Can you see that? You get ever such a lot that lifts up. So that is looking really nice and old, but it's still wet and it's stuck down. Now, one of the things you can do with a paper like this, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but because it's pulp and it's like pressed together in sheets, you can start to fray that up and bend it and do all sorts of creases and stuff into it and start to make it look really old. Now this one, again, I don't necessarily need a clean sheet of cardstock, but I'm going to lift. And so that's that one. And you can see what it lifted there. And then swizzling around to get another clean piece. This one now is the Dollar Tree Manila folder, which I think out of all of them is probably the cheapest way to get a true walnut colour, and that is the Dollar Tree Manila folder. Those little distressed areas are just absolutely gorgeous. Right, what I'm going to do, because of the time, I'm going to pause. I'm just going to get my dryer. I'm going to dry these, and I will be right back. Right, so these are dry, and this is the cheap white cardstock. Now, it actually shows a better true colour when I put it down there, as opposed to if I lift it up, you can see it starts to look washed out. So that is the cheap white cardstock, and it's got a great crease there that I've put in, and I already started peeling it and flicking it away from the corner. But that is going to be a great background for something. And then this one, which is the Dollar Tree Manila file folder. And of course, when you heat dry anything, it gets a bit curly. You just have to, you know, sort of like manipulate it and bend it back into shape. Now, looking at that one, I would say that that's probably the effects that most people would like and would go for. And if you wanted it lighter, all you've got to do is dip your kitchen paper into clean water and dab it, and you'll get those washed out effects like this. See this bit here? You'll end up with those kind of water stains going across it. So that is gorgeous. And then this one on the mat board, just absolutely perfect for using a steel rule die and just cutting out an awesome tag or something like that. But I like this one, and this is the one I'm going to go with. I'm going with the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to get my stamp platform. Just reach across here, and as I say, the paper's bent from heat drying, so try and smooth it out as best as you can. And I'm going to pop it on here. I don't necessarily want to put it in at an edge or anything, because I'm using those strip stamps. So I'm going to go there and there for now, which probably isn't very straight, but there you go. I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to grab a stamp out of this pack just to show that it works. First of all, I think I'm going to go with the fringe. And as you notice, and I'm always saying and repeating myself, a piece of Walmart, I think that's a 2mm thick piece of foam from Walmart, really cheap, come in a pack for children. Just cut yourself a piece that will fit onto your platform, and your AliExpress stamps, usually 99.9% of the time, will stamp absolutely beautifully. So I'm just trying to get into this package. Okay, let's get that one off. Right, this is the one that looks a bit like blanket stitch. So I'm going to use that one, and I'm going to put that there. It may not be straight, I don't know, but I'm just doing it to show you that they stamp. Right, my little mini archival, which is why I made the error on that piece of ephemera, and I'm really hoping that they arrive next week. I managed to find them for, I think, $20 in a set of 4 from Amazon, which I thought was a really good price. So let's get this down here and see what this looks like. Just running my finger along, and that stamps absolutely beautifully. That's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to get that off and grab another one. So it's a very large strip of stamps, and I haven't really got that much room on my little table. Let's go with this. These are kind of like connected a little bit because I haven't pulled them apart. They do have a little bit holding them together. So I'm going to try and get these 3 down and go across there. Right, let's pick those up. My little ink pad again. Just go across those, and let's see what we've got there. It's always nice actually just to rest your lid and not worry about it. I think sometimes you get an even better transfer of ink if you just let your lid rest there. See, we've got a little bit missing there. Now I don't know whether that's me. There you go, it was me, but it stamps absolutely beautifully. So I'm just going to clear that out of the way, and then I can put those away in a minute. So there is that. And of course you could do whatever you wanted to with that. You can crop it down, you can, you know, get your corner chomper if you can get it working right. One of the things I found over the years, I always used to be able to suspend my corner chompers mid-air and use them, and now I find that I can't. I actually have to put them down onto a surface to get them to cut. See, I just ruined that, but that doesn't matter because it's supposed to be old and distressed. So that is what I've got for you today, a little bit of walnut ink staining. I hope it really helps you. You can go in as well with your distress colours. In fact, I'll pause and show you that. Right, so I've got my reds and my pinks tube, and I'm hoping that I've got some ink on here. I'm going to use Barn Door. So, yeah, it looks like there's enough ink on there. Just screw the lid on. And let's see what we can do at the top here. So the walnut ink is totally compatible with your distress inks. There you go, we've got ourselves a lovely red edge now. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, yeah. I get all carried away. Right, that is what I have for you today. You have an absolutely awesome weekend, and if you can find it, get yourself some. And when you're making your junk journals, you know, you can be confident that your junk journal is going to be passed on through the family to your daughter or your sister or whoever without your pages going brittle and falling apart, because coffee and tea is extremely acidic. So I hope that was helpful for you. Right, I'm going away. I didn't actually get my personal hauls that I was supposed to get. They've been stuck in Florida for 5 days now. So that's going to be exciting over the weekend or next week. But have an absolutely awesome weekend. And I am going to be up on Monday with the rest of the DIY Art Bin cuteness. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.